Hello and welcome to Men in the Den. My name's Eric and it's Friday. This week on Men in the Den, we are exploring gay pop culture, and I'm going to talk to you about one single seismic film, and that is Paris is Burning. Paris is Burning is a documentary that was released in 1990 that chronicles the drag houses of New York from the late 1980s and the culture of drag balls in New York City. It is from this culture of queer and trans people of color that are chronicled in this film that we have in our gay culture right now these huge concepts of voguing and realness and all of these things that you hear in gay culture, like in RuPaul's Drag Race and other places in clubs. And it all stems from this single culture documented in this film. In the course of this documentary, they look at the lives of several different people who are a part of this scene. We see Venus Extravaganza, who is a young trans woman who is coming up in the ball scene as part of the House of Extravaganza. We also meet Pepper LaBeija, who is the drag mother of the House of LaBeija, who is kind of an old hand at a lot of this. There's also drag legend Dorian Corey, who is also now notoriously known for what happened in her personal life, after this film was released. And many, many other people. I mean, and if these names aren't ringing a bell with you, that's because many of these people are deceased. A lot of them were lost to violence against the queer and trans community, especially in the film. They document the death of Venus Extravaganza, and it was incredibly tragic. But I mean, that is an exemplar of the ongoing experience of trans murder that has been happening in the United States for decades. And there's just a lot going on in this film. So let me try to unpack some of the important elements of the film.
I'm waiting for the music, and then I can feel it, okay?
Drag balls are the main focus of the film, and they really focus on one of the major balls hosted by Paris Dupree, called Paris is Burning. That's where the title comes from. And at these drag balls, people compete in different categories for trophies for being the best at performing in some kind of trope. So in the drag balls, people compete in different categories, and the categories are broken down into different performances of gender and class, things that many of these people who are competing in these categories are not a part of. The whole point of this is that you are not incredibly wealthy. You are not born cisgendered female, and the performance that you are providing in the category at the ball is to prove something, to prove that you can pass as female, or that you could pass as a businessman or someone who owned a yacht. So the categories are wide and varied, and there's trophies for all kinds of things. And there's a lot of commentary about what that means. And I think that it says a lot that the categories are not just based on gender performance, but also about issues of class and wealth. I mean, this being the 1980s when this film was filmed, I mean, this was the height of things like Dynasty and Dallas, where you had these people in these extravagant gowns, living extravagant lives, with huge mansions and yachts and lifestyles of the rich and famous. And that was something that many people strived for, especially people who are born into lower income minority households in New York, in the slums of New York, trying to break out of that cycle of poverty. And that dream of being incredibly wealthy was what they tried to capture in the ball. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is reading and shade. And there's a whole huge section in here where people talk about the difference between what is reading and what is shade. And Doreen Corey, one of the drag mothers in this documentary, gives a very concise explanation about how reading is just pointing out the little flaws in somebody's appearance, or the way that they have dressed, or the way that they have looked. It kind of tears them down a little bit, whereas shade is a little bit more abstracted in that you don't have to tell someone that they look ugly. They know that they look ugly. And that's shade.
Bring it to the runway.
Beyond that, we get into an even more abstracted level with the dance of voguing. So a lot of you know about voguing because Madonna made it extremely popular and mainstream, but voguing itself is actually an extension of reading and shade. And voguing as a dance is another means of calling attention to people's flaws while they are on the dance floor competing at a ball. So these hand movements, to kind of cover things up, are means to draw attention to those factors, those flaws in someone else's performance. Covering up someone's face, covering up someone's gown, drawing attention to this particular element. That is the reason why these hand gestures exist, and that is the reason why you push people out of your space or block them to make yourself more prominent. And that's what voguing was all about. That's documented in this film. I don't think that you can ever really overstate the kind of seismic impact that this film had, not just as a chronicle of this subculture of queer and trans people of color, but also in terms of what it did for film. As a documentary, it grossed huge amounts of money, unprecedented amounts of money, and it became extremely controversial because Jenny Livingston, who was the director of this film, made tons of money, and that money funneled right back into the production team and the distribution team, and the people who were a part of the culture who was filmed kind of got shafted out of much of their compensation for the film, and they sued, and there was this whole big controversial lawsuit where 13 or so of the people who were prominently named in the film were retroactively given like $50,000 between them. It was extremely controversial, but the other thing to keep in mind is that documentaries never made money. Documentaries hardly ever make money. They sell for exorbitant amounts, like hundreds of dollars a piece, to libraries and for personal collections because they just don't sell. But Paris is Burning has been consistently sold since it was released on VHS, on DVD. Screenings come up all the time. And even just last year, there was another big controversial moment with Paris is Burning, where they were going to have a panel discussion on it, and everyone on the panel was white, talking about a movie about queer and trans people of color. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to kind of wrestle with in understanding this film and its cultural impact and the impact that it still has today. There's so many reasons why you should watch this movie. I highly recommend it. Paris is Burning. Please go educate yourself, teach yourself about this world, and get in the know. So that's my video for this week. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/menoftheden. You can find us also on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. And coming tomorrow, tune in for Dr. Phil's video because t-shirts are finally coming. We are opening a shop. Dr. Phil is opening a shop and it is happening. Tune in tomorrow to learn how you can buy Men in the Den t-shirts and tank tops and other things from Dr. Phil and get on that. And I will see you all next Friday. Cheers!